So yes, I was saying you want to rank the SWOT, and the top opportunity is most likely to be the top strategies. When you talk about the strategies, make sure that you clearly state the name of the strategy. I've been seeing a few papers today during my office hours, and people make that mistake. The number one mistake was to talk about strategies, not mentioning the name of the strategies. There are many different strategies. I've sent you the file and referred to it many times, but there's one slide which has 4 strategies. They are the basic strategies of diversification, new product development, and market penetration. These are the 4 basics. You don't have to use these in your strategies. You could use the other one also that I supplied. However, I would imagine that you may want to use these 4 since they are the most common. Now, when you use these 4, make sure it's very clear that that's the one that you're using. Maybe you want to make that name bold, so you want to put market penetration bold. Should you put it in a different color? You could make it in a different color if you want. You could underline it as well. So just make sure it pops the name of the strategy that you're recommending. Then say why, the pros, and then the cons. And then at the end, that you've discussed all of these strategies, tell us which one that you recommend. You could recommend more than one and explain why you're recommending more than one. The quality of a paper is not so much into writing things, is into the why you think it's going to happen this way. So making more and more suggestions is all in your advantage. The maximum number of pages has not changed. It's still 10 pages. Do you have any questions on the paper, just in case?
I have a question.
Yes.
Where did you send the strategies at? Or is there like are they on the files in the class?
So yeah, the strategies, we studied this probably sometime at the end of September. Otherwise, you can look back at the slide that we used at that time. Otherwise, you can go in Canvas. You go into the section that is called Files. Inside Files, it says PowerPoint, and there's one PowerPoint that's going to say Strategy, and you have all of them there. Or you go, I think, in Canvas, and you look in the announcement, and I created a file which is, I call it like the recap on the strategies, the basic strategies, and using these 2 sources, you should be able to see the strategies. Otherwise, you go in your textbook and you look at chapter, I don't know, 3 or 4. It's going to be called marketing strategies, and then you will see the basic strategies and all the other strategies. These are the terms that are inside all of these, like again, like market penetration or new product development, are the strategies that you want to use in your paper. The big mistake that people use and do is they say my strategy is blah blah blah, and it's an ID. It's not. They're not saying which one is the strategy. So you have to state what is the strategy. When you write your strategies, you don't have to write them from the most important to the least important. If you offer 4 or 5 strategies, you can randomly present them, and you could even say that you recommend the 3rd strategy. So the one that you may recommend doesn't have to be the first or the last. It could be the one right in the middle. When it comes to the SWOT, you would want to rank the statements because it's a little cleaner. And if your paper is more than 10 pages because you have too many statements for your opportunities or threats, you can create an appendix and use the appendix for the overflow. I was with a gentleman just before the class, Aru Yen, and he was telling me he had more pages than 10. And he was saying, that's a bummer because we're going to have to cut half a page just to make it into the 10. Well, you could look at your document and maybe not so much cut the document out and delete it, but maybe make it a little longer and take what you've created extra and make an appendix out of it. So you could say, expand in a few areas, maybe expand the SWOT, but then create a long SWOT that you put in the appendix, and then a short SWOT that you put in the paper. And suddenly you save maybe some pages there, and then you end up having the 10 pages. So work this way around. It's okay to have an appendix that is very big. In fact, if you haven't looked at the samples, which I've emailed and it's inside the Canvas, these samples are much longer than 10 pages. Not really. If you look at it, they're all 10 pages as the core of the paper, but it's longer because they are appendices. And so there's no limits on the appendices. There's limits on the core of the pages of the paper, but no limits on the appendices. In fact, some of them, I think I have like 30 pages of appendices. You don't have to have 30 pages of appendices, but it is possible. So any other questions about the paper? All right. So the pricing is part of the 4 Ps, and it's very, very important. And I want to go back to what is marketing. Marketing is about satisfying the customers. And really satisfying the customers is give the customers what the customer wants, and you're more likely to satisfy the customers. The customer doesn't have to be right, but if the customer wants something specific, give them what they want, and you're more likely to satisfy them that way. And so businesses that are trying to satisfy what they want by giving the customer what they feel the customer should want are making mistakes. It's much more difficult that way. Pricings are very important. So the pricing is another way to satisfy the customers. You don't want to be too low. You don't want to be too high. And so you want to create sort of a interest around the price, maybe make the price more enticing, create some promotion around the pricing. And so we just went through one, the Thursday, Thanksgiving, the Black Friday, the Cyber Monday, the Giving Tuesday. And then I was thinking, what about the rest of the week, the Wednesday, the Thursday, and the Friday? I guess these become opportunities. You could come up with some other themes, and I would not be surprised that in the next 10, 20, 30 years, the rest of the week will eventually come up with some name, which may, I don't know what it could be. It could be Diversity Wednesday, where you try to buy something that you're not used to buy, or try to experience some other things. I don't know what it could be, but it's just, as a marketing person, is you constantly want people to be in this wave of spending money. They have the money, you want their money, you come up with something, so they spend it. The idea is pricing, go from the highest price as possible. That's what you would want as a business, and the lowest price as possible. That's what the customer would want. So you price based on what happens. I want to survive. I need too much inventory. I need to sell, so lower the price. I want to try to increase my profits. So I know I'm not going to sell more products in terms of numbers. So therefore, I'm going to try to increase the price in order to make more profits for each product. I also have competitors, and my competitors are lowering their pricing. I'm losing market share. So therefore, you also want to lower your prices in order to keep your market share, maybe gain their market share by competing with them. Maybe your prices have a lot to do with the image of your product. So your products are perceived as being very good, but your prices are too low to be perceived, make the product perceived as much better. So what you do is you increase your prices, and automatically people will perceive the products to be better. Not too much. You don't want to double, triple the price. Otherwise, they think you're being dishonest and you're taking advantage of them, and then you lose market share and you lose of your reputation and so forth. But it's very important to get some money in order to reinvest it in the business to make better product from one generation to the other, and to be fair to the customers, because they want better products that are really meaningful. So prices are broken down into the fixed cost and the variable cost. The fixed costs, they don't change with the number of products being produced. So you still have this building, and that you produce, that you have one customer that come in this restaurant, or that you have 50 customers or 500 customers in a restaurant, you have to pay the rent of that building. So that's the fixed cost. Then you have the variable cost. They vary with the number of products that you're producing. In that situation, the more you produce, the more you're spending on variable cost. And so the total cost is the combination of the fixed and variable. But there's other consideration for the cost. There's also the idea that the more you buy from your suppliers, the less the cost of the products that you're going to buy. So larger quantities of products that you will be buying. So you have a restaurant, you'll be buying more meat, and therefore the meat will become cheaper because now you'll be buying in large volumes. Therefore, you'll be able to either reduce your prices or increase your profit. The other one is the experience curve. So the other thing is, the more you produce, the more experience you're getting in producing, and the better, more efficient you become in producing, and therefore the cheaper and the product that you're making. Because in 1 hour before, you used to serve 15 customers. Now in an hour you serve 20 customers. So you're still paying as much, but you are producing more, and this experience curve is lowering your cost and therefore increasing your profits, or also, if you want, decreasing your prices. The price elasticity of demand is this concept that as your prices increase, your demand may vary. If your demand doesn't change, means that the demand is inelastic to the prices. But if the demand change, means the demand is elastic. So you have to be careful to know how much changes if your customers have an elasticity of demand, which is elastic or inelastic. Most of the time they would be elastic, but it's possible also that you increase the prices and you have more people that will want to buy the product. And that's usually the situation for luxury goods. Now, when you compete in the market, you have the customers that want to buy your products, you have your costs, but you also have your competitors that are offering prices. They may be offering prices that are very low at one time because they're also trying to survive. And therefore, you may lower your prices, but maybe it's not such a great idea because at that time, as you lower your prices, you stop making money, and maybe you should keep your prices because you build a reputation of having not change your prices. Changing too often your prices is also something that damages your reputation. So we're going to look at the different way of deciding of what your price should be. So the first way, the most basic way, is cost-based pricing. So what you do is use the simplest method. It's very arbitrary, is you say everything plus 20%. So all the costs plus 20%. So whatever you sell, so you have to imagine a supermarket that sells, 100,000 different products, everything is plus 20%. The problem with this method is the fact that there's some products, like it could be plus 50%, and some products it should be plus 10%. By having a plus 20% makes it easy, but it's not as efficient, but it's the simplest method to adopt. The next method, so this method I just presented, the cost-based pricing, is very much like an accounting. You just add a certain percentage, let's say 20%. This next method, the break-even, is more of a finance method and is a really good method and is a very much of an investor method. Is you're trying to define how many products should you sell in order to start making a profit. So the idea is that the more you increase the number of products that you're selling, the more profit you're going to make, but it's also based on how much is the cost of the product and what you think you should be able to sell it for. So as a simple example, imagine you just inherited a car wash. And you know that running this car wash a year costs you $100,000 between the taxis, the water, the staff, the soap, the accessories, the electricity, and the licenses and all that. It costs you $100,000. You know that your customers are willing to pay $5. And so now you have to decide what's the break even. How many cars do you need to service to reach a point that after this, you will be starting to make some money? So you have to sell 100,000 cars. Well, if it was 100,000 cars, the cost would be, the selling would be $4. So you would have to sell so you may be making $1, sell $100,000. Here between 3 and 5, there's $2. So it would be, to get to the $100,000, you would be selling 50,000 cars. So then you have to imagine that doing these 50,000 cars, you're going to do an estimation of how many cars a day can we do, how many cars a week can we do, are they weeks we do more, weeks we do less, and do an annual estimation, and then you will have an estimation on how quickly you will actually get those 50,000 cars to be serviced. In that situation, you find that it'll take about 20 months before you will be doing the 50,000 cars. So it will be an investment of 20 months before you start making a profit. And after 20 months, then you will be able to make this kind of money and have still the expenses and start recuperating some of your profits or making some profits that will be sustaining that. But usually as your business, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but as you get to the 20 months, then you have extra expenses, things that break, things that need to be fixed, you need to do upgrades. But at the same time, is you're trying to reach this break-even point of having a certain number of customers that pays a certain amount of money, they reach a point where you will be able, and this is what you see on the graph, to start reaching a point that all your expenses are paid. And after this number, after 50,000, will be the time that you will be making money. So the issue with the 50,000 is, okay, but it's okay to define that it's 50,000, but what do I need to do in terms of marketing in order to get those 50,000? Is this a location that there's traffic? Should I have some coupons? Should I invest on the radio? Should I invest in the newspaper? Should I invest in the local TV channels? Who are the type of customers that live in this area and comes to get their car washed and so forth? So you'll have to spend some money in order to get those customers. And so that's why the break-even is great, because you take everything into consideration and eventually you try to find this point of return. The value-based pricing, it's the most marketing way of thinking. In that situation, you're thinking, how much do people perceive this to be worth? So how much is it worth to the customers is very much varies between the customers. Some customers are going to be willing to spend more and some less. There may be even some customers that don't even want what you're offering. But the value-based is really from the perspective of the customers. So by doing the value-based, you're going to see if your costs are not too high, because maybe the perceived value is equal to actually the cost. And therefore, it's going to be tough to increase the prices. And that's something that sort of Doug mentioned last week, is because when we asked him about the prices and all that, he said, unfortunately, when it comes to hot dog, people perceive this to be a cheap type of restaurant, cheap type of food. And so he mentioned about the why he was not involved in the baseball event. It's because in the baseball event, he said that the hot dogs are actually really cheap and they're really low quality, and they don't want to be associated with this. Because if they were to make their hot dog at the price that they sell the hot dogs in the baseball events, they would have to be much cheaper than what they're making now, on much lower quality, and that would be sort of watering down their positioning and reputation and quality perception and so forth. So that's one of the reasons they said they didn't want to be there. They said that they tried, but their hot dogs were much more expensive, and therefore people didn't perceive the value. So that's very much a big issue. And in a way, I think that's an element that you may want to consider talking about in your threats, which is that hot dogs compared to burgers are perceived to be cheaper. And so is there room or possibility to increase the perception and increase the price of a hot dog and still people believing it, that it's value? That's an issue. So the next one is the competitor-based pricing, which in that situation is what are the direct competitors and indirect competitors. So direct competitors for Wiener Schnitzel's hot dog company would be another hot dog company. But then you have the indirect, which would be the other fast food restaurants, the other restaurants, and just eating at home, cooking your own things. That would be another indirect, further away indirect restaurants and other fast food restaurants. So that situation, you will see what are the prices that they have, what are the alternative prices, alternative choices, and then you will define what is your price. So obviously, when you think about the pricing within the fast food industry, this is a very important element because everything is extremely precise, because the price is a big incentive for people to buy fast food. Could you combine all of these? And yes, that's something you would want to do, is really combine all of these in order to get a better assessment of your prices. What would be the cost? How much can we sell it? What's the perception? What are the competitors' price? What is the financial estimation of how much profit do we want to make? Well, we want to make 25% profit. So to make 25% profit, how many hot dogs a day, a month should we sell in order to reach this point? And that would be your break-even analysis. So in conclusion, there are 4 approaches to defining the prices. There are the internal and external factors that makes a decision. Internal factors is how much inventory do we have and what kind of financial situation are we. External the factors are what is the economy, who are the customers, how many competitors and who are these competitors. All of these have an influence on the pricing. So this was the pricing method, the understanding of the components of pricing. Now we're going to look at the pricing strategies. So that may maybe seem, again, a little confusing, but I sent you a slide. I explained that there are the corporate strategies. Corporate strategies, as I just mentioned when I started this class, market penetration, diversification, operational excellence, cost leadership, all of these, there's about 15 corporate strategies that we have discussed since the beginning. That was in the very beginning, before quiz 1. Then there's the strategies from the product perspective. So there's branding strategies from the pricing perspective. So there is a few strategies that we're going to talk about. So the first 2 that we talk about is market penetration pricing and skimming. So when you have a new product, how much should you sell it for? So when you have a new product, the most common strategy is called, for pricing strategy as a sub-strategy within pricing, but still a strategy, it's the one called skimming, trying to sell it as high as possible. Why would you do that? It's because you will want to try to take advantage that you have no competitors, that you have a product that is innovative, new, and therefore it can be more expensive. However, by taking the skimming pricing strategy, you will try to have the highest price as possible. And also remember that the product go through stages from the new product to being launched, the introduction, the growth, the maturity, and eventually goes into the decline. And so you'll have different prices at different stages. If your price is really low from the beginning, you're going to have not much space in order to lower your price down the road when you have more competitors and when you have less demand for the product. So the skimming says, let's try to be as high as possible and take advantage of this market share for this product, for this new technology, to be the first. So think about a product like a flat screen. So everybody had a big screen, a very heavy screen, and then came the flat screen that you could put and hang on your wall. The first flat screens were tens of thousands of dollars, and there was only 1% of the American that could afford it. There was only 1 or 2 brands that had them, and eventually those products were perceived as being luxurious. They were not sold everywhere. They were sold in the store that were stores where wealthy customers would go and so forth. And as this product became more popular and they had more competition and there are more choices and they were producing a larger number, then they started reducing the prices. So there's no saying that skimming is the best. It's the best if you can really be sure that you have no competitors. If you have competitors, the problem is you're going to leave a lot of space for them to come with a lower price and take away from you. So sometimes, even for a new product, if you decide to do a new product penetration pricing strategy, which is you're going to try to go very low from the beginning. Normally, the rule is you don't want to go too low, but you could still have something very innovative and go very low for the sake that you want to protect yourself, protect the longevity by having less of a differential price. There would be an incentive for your competitors to copy you and come up with a competitive product. If there is less profit to be made, it's a less of an incentive for lots of competitors to join in. If your price is very, very high and they can still make money being half the price, it's a big incentive to jump in and make a product that would compete. But if your price is already extremely low, very low to the point to be very close to the costs, but because you believe that you will get the biggest market share and therefore your volume will increase so dramatically that you will be saving money in the volume that you're selling, then in that situation, you'll do a penetration pricing. And make very little money and maybe even lose money at the beginning, but as the volume get bigger, you will start be making money, and it will be difficult for someone to enter because they won't have the volume, and it will take them even more time in order to get to those volumes, and it's therefore not a big incentive. So these are the two main strategy of pricing, but there are other ones within the pricing strategies. There's the product line pricing. So the idea that you would have a depth. So if you remember, we talk about the product line width and depth. So the width is how many categories do we have, and the depth is how many variation do we have in the categories. So what's interesting with the depth is that you will have more money that you'll be making with the depth, maybe by selling variations of products with more options and fancier ingredients, material, and so forth. So the product line pricing allows you to sell a product that is really attractive in price, but it has the bare bone minimum versus you have another product that has more functions, more features, and it keeps on going. And eventually you make money by having this wide selection of products within the depth. Then you also have the optional product pricing, which means that you will be making money from accessories that would go with the product. So you're selling a guitar $200, and it's a really good guitar. However, it does not have a bag, and the chords are okay quality, but they're not great. So in that situation, you will say, oh, I want a bag, and the bag will cost you $80. On the guitar that they sold $200, they would be making $40. On the bag that they're going to sell for $80, they're going to make $35, almost the same, because the bag has a higher profit margin. But then on the cord that you will sell, so you'll replace the cords for $40, you'll be making $15 on the cord. So the percentage of the margin will be much bigger on the accessories, and you'll try to sell as many accessories as possible because you will increase your margin. Captive product pricing is the fact that there may be some elements that you have to buy in order to use the product. So the idea of captive product pricing is, for example, you sell photocopy machine, and so the photocopy machine are $129.99, and it's really a very nice photocopy machine. I mean, if you sell this machine, you'd be making $5, $6, and so it's very small percentage, like a 4% markup. So it's almost nothing. However, very soon these people will have to buy a color and black and white cartridge, and the color and black and white cartridge, they're going to spend $80 for these in a matter of a month after. And those $80, you'll be making $70. So the money will not come from the fact that you're selling printers, but from the fact that you're selling the cartridge for the printers that people have been buying. So the profit will come from those accessories, from the print, from the cartridge, not from selling the machine, but they need to have those photocopy machine in order to want to buy the cartridge. That's actually a true story. That's how the photocopy machine and the printers make money, from you having these and needing the cartridges. Other interesting thing about the pricing is by-product pricing is also thinking about if you're making some products, you may have some leftovers, and these leftovers, you could sell it. So you're making furniture, you have sawdust, and then you're selling the sawdust to the zoo in order to put inside the animal sections in order to soak whatever humidity you have in there. Product bundling is when you combine multiple products under one. So maybe you're selling season tickets for the Lakers. So each ticket normally is $400. Now you could be selling 4 tickets for $1,300. So the more tickets they buy, the more they save with the season. You could be selling the same thing with toothpaste. Is you could be buying 2 toothpastes with 1 toothbrush. And if you actually think about the combined price, it would be $10, but this will be actually $8.99. So you'd be saving by buying multiples. The idea behind bundling is that this allows you to sell inventory, increase the amount that you sell, sort of a promotion, also get people to try new things. Maybe they buy your toothpaste, but they don't buy your toothbrush. So they will try other products, maybe launching a new product. So you combine it with the product that people like, and also to sell inventory and increase your volume of sale and get rid of some inventory that you have that needs to be sold quickly. Otherwise, it will perish, or you just don't want to produce it anymore, and you just don't want to throw it, and you rather give it away for a very low price. When you talk about pricing, you also talk about discounts. So there's all kinds of discounts that you can give the customers. So there's the discount if people pay in cash, in terms of the quantity that they buy, in terms if they return something. Pricing, you also think about who you're selling it to. So there may be different people getting different prices. You have senior citizen, student pricing, veteran pricing. You know, there could be variations like this, but there could be a location. You have different prices if people buy in the airport, outside of the airport, if they buy on a weekend versus during the week, or if they buy with different packaging. So you buy the product with no packaging versus you buy the product with the packaging, you buy the product into a container that can be recycled or you could reuse versus a container that they're going to throw away. All of this will have an impact on the prices. So promotional pricing, all of these, you're very aware of what they are. It's just a question of just remembering what, you know, give me two types of promotional pricing, discounts and pre-merchandise. Another one that people may not know is loss leader pricing. And it's part of a promotion, it's part of pricing. So it goes into two subjects, communication and pricing. So what's a loss leader, which I think is the only one you may not know? A loss leader is when you're selling a specific product that you selected for the cost, or maybe even less than the cost, in order to create a buzz or to create perception that you have good prices. Loss leader pricing is something that is regulated, but businesses do it all the time. So customers get excited because they know that this store, this website, this e-store, whatever, has a specific product that is really a very attractive price. And that's why they go there. And that's why they get interested in this website. As they do that, they get to learn other products. And usually what the company does is they have a limited number of loss leaders because they're losing money on these. So they are just there to attract people. So you could have loss leader of special accessories that people like. I don't know, you're like Costco and you have like a wine that people like and you sell it at a very low price and that's why people keep going there. Or you sell, I don't know, like a chicken at a very low price. So people go there because they always want to buy that chicken, but then they're going to spend money on the other things. You could be Walmart, and when comes the spring season, you have those amazing barbecue that nobody has those prices, and then you can put them in your brochure, on your marketing material and so forth. And then people see that and they want to go there to buy barbecue. And when they go there, there's no more because they only had one per store or something, and they were able to get people attention. So promotional pricing is very important, and also the way you set up your prices. So when you say something $.99, people oftentimes don't see that it's $12. You say $11.99, people say, oh, it's not so expensive. It's only $11 or maybe $9.99. People think it's $9. So that has an impact on how you make it more interesting. The problem with changing and playing with those prices, changing the price all the time, is people start thinking that they better wait for the next time you're going to change the price. What it does as well is they may think that you really don't have a fixed price, and therefore, what is really the value of your product if you keep changing your prices? You know, are there times where you're making too much money, and therefore you're not to be trusted because you take advantage of people by making too much money? So you have to be careful. You don't want to constantly change your prices, and you also want to see that when you change your prices, it has a negative impact that it's hard to fix. So don't use different prices all the time and keep changing. So there are different strategies or the sub-strategies of pricing. and there are different perception of your prices as you're changing those prices. This concludes the pricing. Do you have any questions? So now we're going to move into a distribution. So distribution is the third P of the 4 Ps. The P of distribution is normally place. The problem with place is that it's a poor descriptor of what really distribution is. So the best, it should be a D for distribution. So it should be 3P and 1D. The people will not remember, it doesn't sound good as the 4 Ps. So the place is really D of distribution, and it's this concept about how do you get the product from A to Z, from the manufacturer to the customers. What's very important to not underestimate, and people, I would say 99% of the time, underestimate distribution because they don't realize that one, it's a cost, and it's a very expensive cost, and two, they quickly realize it's a cost, but they quickly assume that it's something they could do themselves. And with the use of technology, it's more and more being used to be done by the manufacturer themselves. However, distribution is a true different business than manufacturing. If we're looking at the top business, most wealthy, biggest business in the world, as you see, a lot of them are not into manufacturing. A lot of them are into services. And so when you're in the distribution, you're into the services. So it's a different ball game to be in distribution, because in distribution, you will interact directly with the customers and understand the concept of logistics. When you're a manufacturer, you do understand the concept of logistics because you manage the logistics from all your suppliers to yourself, and then to your point of distribution and distributors and wholesalers and all that. So you have some understanding of the inner and outer logistics, but the getting to the customers is very, very different. Having this sale relationship with the customers is very different. It's a totally different job. It requires different skill sets and so forth. So oftentimes it is necessary, it's well recommended to share this load of the distribution with someone else who's going to be directly in charge with distribution. So the typical format of distribution is you have the manufacturer that sells to a wholesaler, whose wholesaler sells to a retailer, and the retailer sells to customers. The wholesaler is someone that buys in large volume few things, versus the retailer is someone that buys in small volume many different things. So a supermarket is going to buy, I don't know, 30 different of everything they sell, versus a wholesaler is going to buy 1,000 of very few things, because they're going to be specialized, much more specialized than the retailer, because the retailer deals with the customers, and the customers want to do the least effort of going into multiple stores. They would rather get everything under one roof, a one-stop shop. But so that shop cannot carry, hundreds of thousands of quantity inventory of each of the things that they carry. They're going to carry smaller numbers, and eventually they will replenish those small numbers as quickly as possible, but take advantage of not carrying too much stock, the least amount of stock as possible, with the widest variety as possible. That's sort of the rule of thumb. And as a manufacturer, as you go into this business, the one thing that you quickly realize is the concept of margin. And what you quickly realize that is irritating is that the biggest margins are usually the distributors versus the manufacturers. So the manufacturer's margin can be 15%. I mean, if making chips, potato chips, your margin may be 10% versus the supermarket that sells the chips, their margin may be 55%, which is 5 times more. So as a manufacturer, as you realize that it's unfair because without you, there would be no business. And essentially the distributor is sort of needed, but how much is it really needed? Obstacle between you and the customers that you may want to start considering selling it direct. 25 years ago, it was complicated to sell direct, and now it becomes easier and easier to sell direct. And in fact, the customers are less cumbersome or annoyed by buying direct than they used to. So they are, because they know that they will save a good amount, they are more and more considering going directly to the manufacturer and getting it straight from the manufacturer versus having to go through a distributor. So this direct channel of distribution between manufacturer to consumer is what has been really growing. And essentially it's removing intermediaries. So distribution is about dealing with intermediaries for the sake of the benefit of having intermediaries. The reality is the more intermediaries you have, the better it's going to be the distribution, because each one of these intermediaries are adding value for the customers. Because the customers, they are scattered everywhere. And the more and more you're getting those retailers next to the customers, the better it is. And the more those retailers are informing and educating and helping in the selection and of the right product for the customers, the more you're going to increase the satisfaction. So eventually the customers become satisfied with the brand and keeps buying the brand, which means that if you have a great distribution network, the customers are going to be more satisfied and care more for your brand. If you have an amazing brand that they should be satisfied, but you have a terrible distribution network, eventually the customers are not going to be as satisfied. And therefore that shows that the intermediaries plays in the final satisfaction of your brand. Because of this, it is normal that other brands want to regain the power of being the distributors of their own brand in order to have a better control of the margins and a better control of the profit that they can reinvest in boosting the customers knowing about the product. So social media, digital marketing, all of this are really serving the benefit of the customers and the manufacturers. And so the intermediaries are losing power, at least in this relationship. There are also distribution strategies. There's several that I want to discuss. And the first two most common is the push and pull strategies. So push and pull strategies, could you discuss this in your paper as a strategy that you would recommend? That would be great. I will be delighted for one group to recommend the pull strategy or the push strategy. But what are they for Wiener Schnitzel? And Wiener Schnitzel, in fact, can do both. It's a large company and they probably can afford both. Normally, small businesses can afford mostly the push strategy. The push strategy is when you incentivize the intermediaries to sell your product. So let's say you have a good product. It's not the best product, but what you do is you give it to the wholesaler at an amazing price. Then the wholesalers has a significant inventory of it, and therefore they are incentivizing the retailers. And then the retailers end up with having also a substantial inventory, and therefore they're incentivizing the customers. So the customers eventually buy that brand that they don't know, that the retailer doesn't like, but the retailer likes the price that they bought it for, that the wholesalers like because of the price that they bought it for. So their interest lies in the fact that they got it for very cheap. So as a producer, the problem with this is that you're not reinforcing the quality perception of your product, but it's just you forcing everyone to buy your product because it's so cheap that they cannot miss this financial opportunity. Eventually, the customer is the same. There's lots of customers that look for a good deal. It looks the same, it smells the same, it does the same, and it's so much cheaper, so they will eventually buy this product. So that's the push strategy through the channel of distribution. Then the pull strategy is the opposite. Is in this situation, you're saying, you know what, I don't want anything, any help from the distribution channel. I will directly consult, communicate with the customers to the point that the customers is going to be automatically like a robot, be brainwashed to a point that they would want this brand. They don't know if the brand is better. They think the brand is better. They've been told enough in a most persuasive way that the brand is better that they eventually think the brand is better. And that's all that matters. It may be true. It doesn't have to be true. It's better if it's true, but it mostly, it's a result that matters. And then the customers think this is really what they want. They just want, they just want a white Tesla with a white inside. In fact, they're finding a lot of young people now are starting to buy Teslas. Before they didn't buy them because they could not afford them. And what happens now, there's enough used Tesla that they can afford. Why do they buy used old Tesla? Because a lot of people associate these cars with people who have money. In fact, they are more expensive. You need most of the time your own house in order to set up the electricity things and all that. So there's a status, social status in buying these cars. So people, young people are buying them, and they are getting in big trouble because then they start facing the situation of the maintenance, which are very expensive and not very sustainable. And so they're facing, that's the situation they're facing. But I find it very interesting that they're buying these cars for the image that they are providing them, the perception that they are providing them as of now in 2023. And it's possible that in 2026, 2027, the worst thing young people will think about buying is a used electric cars for all kinds of reasons. But at this time, that's the trend. They think it's impresses everyone because it looks like they are successful or something that they, in their head they're thinking. So the pull strategy is to convince people. You convince people by being in TikTok 24/7, and that generates these pull strategies by being on the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl ad. A Super Bowl ad that they put 3 or 4 times during the Super Bowl is going to significantly increase the sales. It doesn't mean this product is better. It just means it was more time in the Super Bowl, and that was the reason. But that costs money. So it's the money from the producers. So the producers is creating a need effect when eventually people feel like they need this product, and eventually they force the retailers and the wholesalers to want the product. The wholesalers and the retailers have no allegiance. They can't be trusted. They only liking this manufacturer because they want this product. They need this product because the customers will buy this product on only this product. I think, yeah, there was a product like this called White Claw. It's a seltzer. I mean, if you go back 5 years ago and you say, I'm selling a seltzer, 6 years ago or 10 years ago, you couldn't get a meeting. I think even in 1 week, you could not get a meeting from any distributors, any retailers. Nobody really cared of any type of seltzer. And then came the craze of the White Claw. And then what happened is that there was no more White Claw available, and all the retailers were looking for ways of getting the White Claw, and they were fighting each other. And the distributors that had accepted to sell the White Claw were very happy. But this was a pull strategy. It was not motivating the wholesalers and the retailers to push it in the face of the customers. It was the customers that were so addicted to this product that the distribution network had no other choices but to carry the product. The best strategy, obviously, in distribution is to have push and pull. It's the combination of these two that suddenly makes it even more dynamic, because the customer wants the product. At the same time, you incentivize the wholesaler, and so you tell the wholesalers, if you buy 1 container, so that's about 10 pallets, if you buy 10 pallets, I give you 1 pallet for free. They can say, fine. Then they go to the retailer. If you buy 10 boxes, I give you 1 boxes for free. And then they go to the customers, 2 for the price of 1. And at the same time, the customers is actually looking for this product and think that's a great product, and they're just jumping on it. And so that creates a huge momentum that's going to build tremendous amount of market share and brand awareness. But all of this costs money, and therefore you may want to do this because you want to build the equity of your brand, and eventually the brand becomes more valuable, and then you sell your shares and you walk away, and the money that you make back is much more than the money that it costed you to create this. But it's a very important financial decision. Can we afford to do both? Most businesses can afford the push strategy, because the push strategy is, I sell nothing. I had a situation like this last week where in Portugal, my distributor in Portugal was asking to buy some of my products if I gave them a huge discount. And so I originally said no. And then a week went by. And then eventually my father said, oh, we should really give them, because we have excess inventory. We didn't sell as much for Christmas as last year. And he said, let's move the inventory. At least we make a little bit of money, less than we planned, but we're still making some. So we'll give this Portuguese distributor a huge discount. So that's what we did. And actually, that reminds me, you were supposed to tell me today if he was going to accept it. I didn't see that. Okay. And so that if he says no, I don't lose money. If he says yes, I make a little bit of money. By not selling, I sort of lose money. The pool strategy would be saying, okay, let's have a huge campaign of communication. So obviously now with the social media, your campaign doesn't have to be as expensive. One thing I wanted to remind you is between now and next week, this is the 1 week opportunity also to do the survey of the student evaluation. So just go online and take 2-3 minutes to do the survey, and there will be a 1% extra credit for reviewing your evaluation of this class. And I appreciate it. That allows me to see what's going on and make some improvements and so forth. Thank you very much. Have a good week. I will do extra office hours, I believe Thursday morning. So that will give you another opportunity to get my feedback. And Zaid is available tomorrow. That's his last day. So if you want to get some help, quick reviews, do not hesitate to make appointment with Zaid. Do this now. That way he knows. That's the last few minutes, so he knows. And I will send you some information for Thursday when we'll be meeting. Have a good evening, everyone.
Sorry, Professor.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
We have to send you screenshot of this survey, or how you can know that we already done this survey for 1% extra credit.
So what happens is I see I see people posting more and more. So there is I've got a pie chart, and it shows me how many didn't post and how many posted. So for me, that's good enough.
Okay.
You don't have to send me anything.
Okay.
I trust everyone. They're gonna be honest and go there and post their survey. It doesn't.
You will send this. You will give everyone this 1% if there will be percentage.
It's possible, yes. But
You're
welcome. So, Liora, I think you have a question.
Hi, yes, Professor. So I met with the TA and presented my report, my group's report. And I just had a quick question, because for direct, we put other hot dog chains, and for indirect, we put that it's other fast foods, such as like McDonald's, In-N-Out, just in general.
Yes.
But he mentioned that direct is other fast food chains like McDonald's and such. So I don't know if that's a mistake on his end, or we're incorrect, or
Well, the thing is, normally the way you say it, it's very clear cut. It's like, let's say you're doing Chevrolet, the direct competitor is Ford. But and then you could say, a few years ago when they didn't have electric car, and you could say, oh, Tesla was a indirect. So I can see where you could be much more much more nuanced, where you could say you have like more than just direct and indirect. Is you have like a first level direct, which is other hot dogs. Then you have the second level direct fast food. Then you have indirect other restaurants, first level, and then second level indirect, where you would have frozen food, like that you could cook yourself, pre-made food.
okay, so that's what you're looking for?
So I think well, what I'm looking for is very simple. Direct is hot dogs, indirect is other fast foods. If you say that, that's correct.
Okay, so what I have is what
Yeah,
you
I think it's correct.
Okay,
But
perfect.
if you went into more details by saying, I go to Albertson and they have a self-serve, and that's also a competitor, but it's more indirect than McDonald's, and therefore that makes McDonald's more direct, and therefore you want to create like 4 or 5, categories. I can see that.
Okay, perfect.
Because remember that they have burgers inside Wiener Schnitzel. So then you could say that McDonald's is sort of a direct. But the reality is you could make it more clear by having, McDonald's out and focus just on this. So what I'm trying to say is there's no laws for what I'm saying here. If you define it, say, we have 3 groups: super direct, direct, and indirect. Super direct is the fast food that sell the exact same thing. Direct is fast food, and indirect is non-fast food type of restaurants. Perfect.
Okay, got it. And then for the report, does only one person from the group have to submit it, or everyone?
Yes, just one.
Just
As
one.
long as you have all the names in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Professor.
You're welcome. Thank you for your questions.
Professor, I apologize. I know you answered it, but I couldn't make out what you said.
Okay.
But as far as like submitting the evaluation, because it is anonymous, I'm assuming.
Yes.
You said that. Did you say we would have to send you a
No, you don't
screenshot?
have to. You don't have to. No, I some classes I see I don't see what you say, right? That's anonymous.
Right.
But the thing is, there's some classes where I see who did not submit. But I found out that this class, I don't even get this information. But what I do is I see that it gives me the count of people that keeps adding. So I'm gonna be just hope that people will follow through and just submit, and I'll just provide this extra credit for everyone for their goodwill.
Oh, so we don't even need to email you or anything like that, or
You don't need to email me.
Okay.
Yes.
As far as you said you're free, I think Thursday morning for office hours.
Yes.
Okay, and then tomorrow you said is Zayed's his last day of office hours.
Yes, that's right.
How would we how would we log into his office hours? Like, does
Well,
he
what
have
you
a
need to do for tomorrow is you're supposed to go on the
Zoom?
I think it's in the announcement. I think they have one announcement that says don't forget the tutor, teaching assistant.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, otherwise it's the last page of the syllabus. It says the teaching assistant is Zaid. This is his email. Send him an email the day before to make an appointment.
Oh, okay. So I'll go ahead and send it today.
Yeah, do it fast because there may be people already
Might
picking
fill
the
up.
hour that you want. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Um, and I was curious, what is, because I didn't see it in the syllabus, but what is the percentage for an A? Is it 93 or 94 or?
Oh yeah, it's in the syllabus as well. I think it's just before the schedule. It says um, A minus is 90 to 93.99, and A is 94 and above.
Oh, okay. All right. And all right, that's all. Yeah, if I have any other questions, I'll just shoot you an email or something.
Okay, you're
All
welcome.
right, thank you,
I'll do
Professor.
that. I'll respond as quickly as possible.
All right, I appreciate that. Have a good one.
Thank you. Soroush, you have your hand up.
Yes, sir. I had a quick question about how finals are gonna work. Are we gonna be starting it next week or it's the week after?
No, it's the week after. Next week is the last class.
Next week is the last class. Okay. And we haven't taken any attendances yet.
No,
Supposed to take 2, right?
yeah, it's supposed to be 2. So there's very likely to be 1 next week.
Right, of course. Right. Okay. Perfect. And then the final, do we have to be in class or could we just do it at home? And is there a certain time?
It's the same as the quiz that you took a month and a half ago
Oh,
in
okay.
October. So
Just
it's
like that.
yeah, it's just like that. It's just a canvas from wherever you have access. Make sure
Perfect.
your internet is stable, and you'll have an hour and 15 minutes.
Awesome. And when does it open? Normal finals time at like 5?
No, yeah, I think it's a different time than class, though.
Okay.
It's in the syllabus. It's the last
Got
line
it.
of the syllabus. Maybe like a 5:30. I forgot, 5 o'clock.
Got it. Okay.
I think it's 5 to 6:15 or something like this.
Okay. So we don't have all day to do it. There's like a time.
No, the
Okay.
only one you have all day is the one I gave this weekend that started
Right.
yesterday.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and that one, it's because I want people to do well. There's no reason not to do well on this one. And it has to do with all kinds of things that I'm being forced to give you versus the final is, the material we are covering right now.
Sure. That makes sense. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question, Soroush.
Thank you.
Rose, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Several. Your office hours Thursday. Do you want me to email you for extra beforehand if I want to?
Well, Thursday, it's gonna be like 10:30 to 12, I think.
10:30 to 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to keep that in mind, but you prefer me to,
Yes.
if I were to go to message before you, that.
Well, yeah, that way I could save a spot for you. Like today, I saved a spot for someone.
Okay, got it.
But otherwise, 10:30 to 12. If you email me, I'll pick a
Okay,
time.
I will email you. And how long is the sessions that you usually want? Like 15 minutes or?
Well, it depends how many people email me. If I get kind of like bombarded, which it could happen, it happens some 50% of the time, then I make it 15 minutes.
Okay,
If I'm
got
not
it.
bombarded, we could have 30.
Okay, got it. And also for the next class, is going to be in person or Zoom?
Next class is in person.
In person, okay.
Yes.
And I have a question because I asked the TA about this lastly, but he wasn't sure about positioning. I just want to confirm positioning is basically the attributes that you want basically for the consumers to
Yeah. So positioning is a
perceive.
difficult question for the TA, to be honest. Positioning is the hardest thing in marketing. It's the meaning, the image, the identity of the brand in the eyes of the consumers. What does it mean? And therefore, you're right. It's those attributes that you have to define. And you can't have too many. I would say 1 or 2 attributes,
Okay. And this is the attributes that will help them satisfy the customers or
no, it's the attributes that's going to appeal to them.
appeal to the customer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Appeal.
so for example, Vans, the supermarket, they're going to say Vans is value. So they're going to have one attribute, value. But Gilson, which is another supermarket, which is very expensive. Everything is 2 times more expensive. It's going to be Gelson is quality.
Okay.
Versus Whole Foods is going to say Whole Foods is fresh.
Fresh. Okay.
So you have to
Basically
find
come
what's
up,
the attributes. Fresh for Whole Foods.
and but when you say appeal to consumers, like, oh, what's going to make them to attract them, like come in the business?
Well, for example, there's lots of groups. So there's lots of groups that says, oh, there's not enough families that go to Wiener Schnitzel.
Oh,
So if there's not enough families, means you want more kids to go in there.
yeah.
So then you say, oh, what should we do for kids in terms of positioning? Well,
Okay.
they have a funny logo with a man dressed as a hot dog. Okay, so then maybe you could say, the smile, the smiley hot dog or something else.
Okay.
Or have fun with a hot dog. So it's the word fun. And then you say,
all
the
right.
positioning for kids is they need to have fun. But then it's not fun, it's they need to be excited. So, it's exciting, it's party time. I don't know what it is. So you have to
Okay.
develop
Come
the
up with it.
positioning, the image. So this
And
is
once
more communication.
Okay, once I develop the position, I have to explain why, right?
Why? The why is the
why is it
question,
important?
not
Okay,
the
why
what.
is it important?
You could even say something that I don't agree with you, but it doesn't matter. If you explain it, I give you points for making an explanation.
Okay,
There's
points
no
make
answer
sense.
sheet with this. The problem is a lot of people that say things, they don't say why.
Okay,
I
just
only
focus
give
on
them
the why.
focus on the why. It's like
Okay.
you see, I told you it's fun. For kids, it's fun, or maybe it's exciting. Which one? So that then I just discuss. We recommend those 3 attributes: fun and exciting. However, only one should be selected. We selected exciting because blah 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 blah, and fun was weak because of blah 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 blah. Perfect. It's
Okay.
explained. They give me 2 choices. They say why. They pick one. And at the end, fun and exciting may not be really that good. And maybe we give this to Doug and he says, rubbish. But at least it's explained.
All right, got it. I think I have a better idea. Thank you, Professor. Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Bonnie, you next.
Hi, Professor.
Hello.
So going back to the businesses that you mentioned, so
Okay.
I just emailed you a company,
Wonderful.
and I may have another one as well, but I also wanted to see when we send you them, should we let them know when? So I just told them that, I gave them your name,
Okay.
and so that they would, if they got an email from you, that they would expect you,
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah.
and
Otherwise they get scared.
right. And should I tell them, kind of give them an idea of when you might reach out to them, or
I would imagine it's going to be in the next 2 weeks. Juliana, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here,
Yeah,
Professor.
excellent. Yeah, so you probably work on it this week, next week, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so if anything, whenever you send me the client, I'll definitely that same day I'll format the email and send it to them.
Oh, okay,
okay.
so yeah. So the
Yeah,
email comes
perfect.
quick. She follows up with a phone call as well, just to have something more personal with them.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So if I do get a few, I just wanted to just kind of give them a little bit of an idea of how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
great.
we just interview them just to see if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
And also that way we can see which professor we should recommend them. Is this professor that like this and like that? And so then we get some kind of feel. And yeah,
That's a good idea. Okay.
thank you
I'll let
for
'em
doing
know.
that. That's and you can send them before next Monday. That would be great.
I just
And
sent it to you, so you already got it in your email.
okay, and the second one as well.
Yes,
If
yes,
we could be.
yes, I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bonnie. Good speaking to you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Reese.
Yes, I just wanted to confirm if the final was taken in class or not.
No, it's not in class. The final is the same as the quiz 1. you can take it from anywhere you want.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Juliana, don't forget to send me the clients that are ready as of today.
Yeah, that's literally what I wanted to ask you about.
Oh.
That's why I stayed a little extra.
I
I'm
was
gonna send
guessing.
you, yeah, I'm gonna send you 3. Is that fine?
A 3 is great.
Okay, I'll send you 3, and I haven't heard back from the ones that I emailed on the weekend, so I'm gonna go ahead and send out another follow-up email today.
Yeah, follow up email and then do just make some calls and see if there's anyone that catches.
Yeah.
And you will see it's gonna be the big surprise. Some are gonna get excited, some are gonna say, wow, let me think about it,
Yeah, I had one phone call already that he didn't really seem very open-minded on doing like the social medias or just doing
Oh, yeah.
it was just kind of like a mess, and he was like, can I call you back? And I was like, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, in my head I was like, this is exactly what professor was telling me about. But I'll go ahead and do you want me to send you over the business name and their contact info?
No, I would like you to put them inside the Excel,
Spreadsheet?
with
Got
that
you.
way and also that way I can see if you rated them high and all that. Are they 4 and above?
Are they, I'm sorry?
Were they good?
Yeah, the 3 that I have for you, those are 4s and 5s.
4s and 5s, okay. Okay, so because I'm gonna pass this information to Professor de Grevel, so send it to me so that way he has some background. What do they want? Do they have a website? The same thing as what's inside
The like Priscilla
Excel.
told you, as like
Yeah.
a different Excel that has like clients given to professors, things like that. And I'll send you that one.
No, because I can clean it up. I can leave what I want to
Okay.
leave, not remove what I want to remove.
Got you. So I'll just make a separate one and just put their information on there.
Yes.
Okay,
Then I
perfect.
work with this and send it to him today.
Okay, perfect. I'll make that sheet right now and I'll send it to you once I'm done with it.
Yes, and hopefully I can send you the new one and you can work on it. And yeah, just one professor asked, but I hope not too many come. Sometimes they come early January and then we be a little short of clients.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'm doing my best to get as many as I can right now, so it's not stressful when they ask for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jenna.
Okay. Thank you,
Have a good
Professor.
evening.
I'll email you.
Good speaking
Thank you.
to
Have a good night. Thank you for the class, by the way. Appreciate it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, can I ask one last question,
Yes,
Professor?
Jason.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
I was letting the other people go in front because I didn't want them to keep asking you. And then they'll say, "Oh, his buddy was Jason." Okay.
No, it's okay. As far as attendance goes, so is next class going to be worth 2%?
No, it's going to be worth 1, and there's going to be 1 just extra because I will take that one. And so that one is going to be 1, and then people will get the other one anyway.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you, Professor. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night, everybody.